I'm Dan Graham from the company Gothic Instruments, and I'm going to talk a little bit about creating presets inside DRONAR. The different modules that we've got are all very similar to each other in their operation. They've almost got identical dials and pages. This particular one is the Cinematic Atmospheres module, our newest one at the time of recording this. And since we're going to talk about presets, I think one way to get started with presets is to think of an actual scene that you want to create. Now, if you're doing film, TV, composing, then obviously that's your job. You've actually got the scene already, and then you're trying to create something that adds more depth and atmosphere to that particular scene. So I'm going to start with just imagining a particular scene, and what I've got in mind now, if you just like the current preset that I've got loaded, you know, it's a sort of it's a mixture of, you know, different parts. It's a sort of an atmospheric pad kind of sound. Now, it doesn't particularly sound like any particular scene. So imagine, if you will, come with me on a voyage into sight and sound to a kind of eerie, haunted American highway at night, outside a motel with a crackling neon sign and flies buzzing around the sign, moths. Somewhere in the distance behind the mountains, there's faint movement in the sky that's probably like distant thunderstorms, but it's eerily quiet where we are in terms of there's no wind, although at the same time there's a creaking sign in a disused gas station, which in itself doesn't really add up because there's no wind. There's a sense of creeping danger or at least uncertainty, and things out there in the desert that we don't quite understand. So, as you can tell, I've been watching Twin Peaks, The Return. Got a light. If you haven't seen that, then you've got to watch it. Otherwise, you're an idiot. Right, this is the scene then that we want to create. So we need a low part that's going to be kind of like rumbly and dark, but not. See, that's a sort of quite a strong synth sound. That's a bit like you know, I don't know what it is, but it's like slightly industrial and strident. But you know, that's not like a kind of a dark, uncertain sound. So let's see what we've got. Bubble coder. It's a bit synthetic. Gurgle. Morphed. It's more like it. I think I'm getting a sense of some awful thing that's going to appear. So if we take the tone button down, the tone buttons are kind of it's a combination of an EQ and a filter. So the more you bring it down, the more it actually brings up the low gain and starts to push up the real bottom end, as well as taking stuff off the top. Now it's still pretty kind of like in your face, but I've got the modulation wheel quite high, and the modulation wheel fades between layers. So if I just sort of bring back the mod wheel a bit, that lowers it a bit, but I'm also going to move the filter down, so there's only a bit of a claustrophobic rumble. So just then I'm crossfading with this between morphed and metallic rain on its own, bit of a synth sound, then morphed, there's this kind of dark, rumbly sound. But that's pretty good. That's giving us a sense that there's something awful going on, I think. Sorry, I've got a cough. Now, I think what we need is... Do we need rumbles? Maybe we need rumbles. Let's see if we can get some rumbles going on. Now, this is the extensive set of FX sounds that have been created by Alessandro Camnasio. Alessandro Camnasio. That's probably how you pronounce it. So, we've got a big set of things going on there. But what we're looking for, I think, is some kind of rumble. So let's try rumble 3, see what that sounds like. I'll turn down that low layer that we had. By the way, when I'm turning these layers up and down here, it's exactly the same as doing the same thing on the main page. So if I turn the low up full there and then you go back here, you can see that it's full there. So what I'm going to do is bring up that rumble. Let's hear it. Yeah. It's a nice rumble. Bring down the tone to add. No, I think we want to leave some tone in because we're going to use that. Right, so I see what's already magnetic field mid. I think maybe we want a magnetic. You see, this is like a bit of a David Lynch quality. It's a bit Twin Peaks, but I think at this point we're inside some kind of dream sequence with Tesla coils, so that's not really the it's not quite the motel neon light. Let's try some of these burning sparks. Pretty cool, but it's not quite the electric sparks. Yeah, I mean it's still like a Tesla coil. But let's just say that's our. No, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. You know, there'll be something in there somewhere. Usually is burning sparks. It's very yeah, that's definitely a bit more like a neon lamp. I'll go for that. I'm just going to go to the LFO page now and just see what's going on there. I can see that there's a certain amount of chorus in there, and I think that that's adding a slightly artificial quality, so we'll take that out. And I can see that on the LFO there's a bit of pitch movement. Now this is actually the remnants of some vibrato that was added to the whatever patch it was before I began. So I'm going to take that out. See that there, pitch. I'm going to take that out. So and I'll take out the reverb and delay. We don't need reverb. Let's see what's going on the arpeggiator page. There's not much going on there, so let's just leave it. Okay, bring back the rumble. Now this width button, the width dial, what that does is it takes the two sounds in each layer, and if you have width at the lowest level, it just gives you the original panning of the raw audio, which might well move around, but they're both kind of broadly in the center rather than panned out left or right. But if you move width up, it separates the two sounds out, and it puts one off to the left and one off to the right. Now I think for this, add a little bit of width. I see. We've got the filter was quite low then. That's a bit harsh, maybe. But we do want to hear a bit coming through. Yeah. Now, I hope you really need some good headphones, or even better, some subwoofers going on here, because I've got some giant subwoofers in this room, and there's a lot of low frequency rumble, and you're not going to hear that unless you've got something that can play it. Now, we need some kind of high-pitched sound now that's going to give a sense of danger. That could be just enough. If I had the thick, it adds an extra octave above. Now putting in some of the mid layer. Now what the DRONAR does is, in the lower layer it only gives you one note, which is the bass note of whatever chord you're playing, and in the high layer it also only gives you one note, which is the same as the bass note, whereas the mid layer, it allows you to play anything you want, like a chord. The purpose of this is that it just, like at the moment I've only got two notes held down, and it's two semitones. And the reason for that is so that in the mid layer you're hearing a clash. You can hear it more clearly if I turn up the mid layer. Turn up the filter. Now there's quite a lot of like fastish pulsing going on in the mid layer there, and that's going to be caused by this. If I turn up the amount, you can hear what's going on. It's like a gating. If I turn up the rate, 32nd notes, 64th notes. Now I'm going to say that maybe we don't really want much of this, so I've put clear, and this just cleared it to a flat thing. Let's see if we could maybe get a bit of arpeggiation going. Now you can hear that it's creating a lot of movement. If you turn that down, it sort of fades the notes into each other, so instead of jumping from one note to another, it kind of just slightly undulates between the two notes. Slow the rate. Increasing the mandolin trem in the sound there. Decrease the width so you get more trem. Now that's a bit of a synthy sound. Let's go for resonating water. That's a sound that Alessandra's created from water going through some kind of resonator to emphasize the frequencies. It's pretty cool, isn't it? But there's probably too much movement for this, because what's happening is I'm just getting into the sounds instead of thinking about the scene. So we're not, we don't want all that movement. We're not kind of walking into a strange madman's palace at this point. What we're doing, now I'm going to switch the arpeggiator off. What we're doing is feeling nervous on a deserted highway. So let's try different sounds. Pretty good. Rainy flutes, like it. We've got some basic strings here, strings ambient, which are actually live string players that I watched play and recorded. Ooh, listen to that high pitched sound fading on there. That's the decay there. Pretty cool, that. Lowering the filter to get more of a mysterious sound in the mid layer. Playing a chord now. Finally added a third note now. By the way, the whole point of DRONAR... Oops, incoming message. Sorry. Mute. Incoming message. The whole point of DRONAR is that you can play it with one hand, and that's not because media composers are fools who can only play 3 notes at a time. It's not entirely that. It's that it's so that you've got a hand free, so that you can create sounds with your right hand while you're holding sounds down, and also you can perform live, so that when you're recording something, you can set it running and then start moving the dials with your right hand, either with a mouse, or if you've got a keyboard assigned to the different dials, then you can be expressive. Anyway, what we've got going on here then now is this sound. I think that's pretty good. So what we'll do is we'll say, first of all, let's be expressive. We've got low intensity levels. We're hearing a lot of that rumble and electricity. A bit more electricity. Now a bit of low pitch. That's just the ambient sense of dread. We bring up the intensity level there, which is assigned to the mod wheel. Get some sense of something pretty horrible approaching. Bring up the high level. Playing a different chord to add a bit of interest. That's an F minor, not that you can tell. Bring up the mid layer so you can hear that F minor. Gone for a bit of a Gothic second. Definitely got away from the desert now. We're in a church. I've blown it. We're in the scene. And now I've just gone and done a major chord. It's all too hopeful. We need to dash the hopes. What I'll do is I'll only play one note, and then we're not bringing in any European Gothic elegance, which is not what we want. I think at this point we want to be getting out a slide guitar and playing that over the top of this drone, don't we really? Because otherwise we're just getting away from this American it's a good job I'm not actually scoring a film and I've got a deadline of 5 minutes down in the score, because at this rate it's not going to get done. Although arguably, since we began, I've recorded 20 minutes of film score, so you could say that it's pretty much a real-time film composer, and I could probably knock out about 10 films a week at this rate. If they were really low budget, that could make me about £100 a week. I need to think about this. Ha ha. The question whether I've actually achieved any kind of let's look. The question of whether I've achieved any kind of sense of being on a deserted highway, I'd say what I've managed to do is create a bit of an eerie backdrop to it. But we're not really going to be on that deserted highway until we get the guitars out. And add in some crickets. But, you know, I don't have a guitar here just now. Actually, I do. I'm not going to do that because that's got nothing to do with showing you presets. Still, it's an ambition. Right, okay then. Are you still here? 20 minutes of me just waffling while playing one chord. You've got staying power and I admire that. So, there you go. That's a quick guide to, it's a slow guide to creating presets. And it's really just giving you a bit of a demonstration of what you would do if you're thinking of a certain sound, how you just isolate the different elements of the sound and the different layers, and then slightly alter the filters and the panning things on very subtle ways, but just it's enough to kind of give you that sense of an ominous, complex atmosphere. So that's it for now for creating presets. Hopefully that's given you a bit of confidence to get off the main page and presets and get you thinking about how it actually works underneath so that you can customize what you want, get it exactly creating the sound that you're actually looking for instead of just hoping that you'll find it through trial and error and listening. Okay, that's all for now and goodbye.